So we come to another letter, Colossians. It's a letter to the church in Colossae, which is in Asia Minor, modern day Turkey. So we're continuing kind of this thing where we get letters to church um, addressing big picture things that could apply to everybody and addressing specific things that can apply to the particular setting and situation in which the church finds itself. So Colossae is it's a populated area. There's a lot of little towns here up the road, and so um, it's probably intended for a larger audience than just this individual church. Um, there are a lot of parallels to Ephesians. It kind of follows a similar path, um, which leads to the question of there's this debate about authorship. Did Paul write it? Did he not? And we talked about that a little bit more in the Ephesians video. Um, but if it was Paul who wrote this, it was likely written from an Ephesian prison. Again, Paul's writing in prison, mid 50s AD, 20, 25 years after Jesus. So the church in Colossae, Paul never visited it, but himself. The work was begun by another, and yet he sort of oversaw it too. Um, keep in mind, of course, this is the ancient world, so you can't just get from one place to another so easily. So he was certainly in contact with them, but overseeing from afar, and in this case, from prison. So just a few things about Colossians itself. Um, it's mostly a positive letter. All the letters have some element of being complimentary to what the church is doing, and then some element of um, correction. And this one does have more positivity to it, although there is, let's say Paul wrote it, Paul is concerned enough to write it. So he's complimentary on their devotion to Christ, but he's trying to help them sort of steer a little bit of a different direction, um, gently away from religious practices that he considered questionable. So the religion in that area was particularly eclectic. So think about astrology. I'm a Virgo, or I'm a Cancer, or whatever. Therefore, I act like this, that sort of thing, in that zip code, so to speak. So there's this acknowledgement that, or Paul, I guess, is suggesting that they, at a minimum, acknowledge sort of the heavenly powers associated with the stars. Um, at, at at minimum, it's an acknowledgement that there's something, they think there's something there. At maximum, perhaps he thinks they're pushing on worship of the stars. Some of the language he uses, the thrones or dominions or rulers of powers, the elemental spirits of the universe, angels, these sorts of things. So you take this kind of, I'll say, eclectic astrology, and then you put in the Jewish holy days and throw Christ on top of it. That's a little. It seems that that's kind of the religion they're practicing. So he does compliment their devotion to Christ. So he does seem to suggest that they've got Christ on top. It's just the other stuff they're still sort of figuring out. So his correction for them is just keep it simple. Um, don't just trust in Jesus Christ and don't dilute it with all this other stuff. The astrology, the stars, doesn't matter. Just focus on Christ. And as Paul often does, he's able to speak the local language. What I mean by that is that to the Athenians we read about in Acts, they really pride themselves on being quite religious. And there's of course the Greek and Roman gods, right? And so Paul says, "Oh, see, you're quite religious," and he uses this sort of academic argument with them because that's the world they're in. Whereas in Colossians, he points to the sort of cosmological significance of Christ, that Christ has come for the whole universe, for the whole world, which plays into this star religion, this astrology stuff that they have. So that's Colossians. Happy reading.